And greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Soul Citizens. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and we are happy to have you guys with us. Back for another week of deep talk about Star Citizen, and I am so excited because we have a guest. Solithcar, thank you so much for the follow. Boy, you came out the gate. Holy smoke, that's awesome. You know what? That had to be because of our guest, because they don't normally hit us like within the first 15 seconds of the show. So we're going to associate it to our guest today. But our guest is none other than the Queen of Kapla. Did I say it right? Look at it, she's smiling, so I must have got it right, right? Okay. Buster the Destroyer. Buster, thank you for being here today. Say hi.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. It's really nice to be here.
We've been looking
Hi,
forward
everybody.
to this. Yeah, we've been looking forward to this. We met.
I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
We had a fun time on Paul's show. We did the captain's table and had a blast.
We did, and well, we did. You and I did Yacht Club.
Was it Yacht Club we were on?
Yeah, we were on Yacht Club.
Why do I think it was
You
captain's
got
table?
on so many
Oh.
things, so many
No,
things.
I don't think I've been on Captain's Table.
You're
with you
right,
yet.
and you're right. It was Yacht Club. The reason why I was
We'll have to
thinking.
do Captain's Table together, though.
Well,
eventually.
what happened was the HC Vertical thing was in my head a little bit, and that's why I was thinking
I know.
the other way.
You
but
know,
that's a whole other story.
It's funny because I guess Vertigo and I are a little attached at the hip sometimes. So.
Mhm. Yep, exactly. And as always, we have our good friend fastcart. Fastcart, how the heck are you?
Hello, everybody.
Fastcart's looking rather dapper today. He's got the button-down shirt, and
We had a special guest.
you
so I
going to the
thought I'd,
club?
you know,
Oh, I thought maybe you were going to the club or something afterward. I don't know. What are y'all dressed up about on a Sunday? I don't know. And then hey, off Meon, thank you for the follow, and Scoops MD, thank you for the follow. And last but not least, we have the information man. This is our legacy member of the Soul Citizens. This is the guy who was there when it all got started. Younique, how you doing, buddy?
Great. I love all your roundabout ways of calling me very, 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 very old.
Old, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you know what? You see, you have a nice, clean, baby face look. I've got all this gray hair, so people know that I'm old. You know, right off the bat. You know, me and
Is that what
Fastcart.
it is?
Yeah, me and Fastcart. They already know we're the
Yeah.
old guys in the room. So, anyway, again, guys, thanks you guys for joining us today. Blackwater Goat, good to see you back again. That's awesome. You all are all awesome. Got to go back to work. You're going back to work. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, you know you'll be able to watch us on YouTube. Thank you for letting us know, Othmian, and stopping by and saying hi. We appreciate that. Oh boy, we've got a really interesting subject tonight. You guys see the wonderful picture that we have on our screen called Feature Creep. Does anybody know where that came from? That picture, that idea? Does anybody? Now you'd have to be the old person in the room. So Buster,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you're,
I
you're
don't know.
disqualified, Buster, for this because you'd have to be around a while to know why that picture looks that way. Does anybody know? Maybe somebody in chat knows.
Well, it's a statue.
True. Yeah.
Creep show back in the day.
Mm-hmm. That's from back in the day.
Oh,
Creep
Back
show?
in the day, Buster, we
I
all
heard the
grew up
name
in the
of
day when local TV stations used to have their own what they call creature features. These were like, because we didn't have like cable back in the day, so your local channel 5 or 2 or 7 at night on Friday or Saturday would show horror movies.
One of the three.
Mm-hmm. And they would call them something
That's
like
all you had,
creature
3
feature or
Yeah,
something
because back in
weird.
the day it was NBC,
CBS.
or
Mm-hmm.
CBS
ABC.
and ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But usually it would be your local station, like if you had like a WGN or some
Yeah,
offbeat
yeah.
station, and that was
Like
the way.
like they were like a franchise of one of those guys.
Yeah,
It was-
and that was their-
like the way radio is.
Well, and that was the way that they used to be able to generate people watching their channel, right? Because people would be watching the major networks, but these little local stations, they would like show Dracula or Frankenstein, something like that. The closest thing
Oh,
that it would
yeah.
be, think about how like Elvira is, but
I was
but
just
local.
thinking of Elvira, Mistress of the
Mhm,
Dark. I'm like,
right.
wait, so you're telling me like basically like
Exactly.
because
But
didn't she start out in public access and then
Exactly.
she got big?
Exactly. She was one of the few that actually went to the point where she was like nationwide. But most cities, almost every major city, had some type of weird host that was a monster host that would host the film that was coming on for that
And
night.
she just, that dress was cut so low, she could not
Well,
be ignored.
let me give you a piece of history. She actually got that idea from somebody else. If anybody in chat knows who the person
Vampira.
was, hey, you know, awesome,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I was like Vampira, Elvira, and Morticia are kind of like
All
the
in tied in.
trifecta.
There you go.
You know, I
The
mean,
Trinity.
you could consider the what is it, Lily Munster, the wife
Mhm.
of like, You know,
Yeah.
but that show was more of a response to
That was
the
more
success.
vampires, right? Adam's
Well, it
family.
was more
Adam's family was the
it was the
Morticia.
answer. It was another network's answer to the Adams family.
Exactly. Adam's family was definitely Morticia Adams. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that's great to know. You are definitely welcome here, girl, because you know your stuff.
oh,
That's
you
awesome.
have no idea how much research I've been putting into those three ladies lately. And when we get toward the end of the show, maybe I can plug it a little bit.
That is so cool. Well, we appreciate you being here, guys and ladies. So we're going to jump in, guys. The show this week again is Feature Creep, and of course, for those of you who are in the gaming and development, you guys know where this subject comes in. Oh, before I start, I forgot to mention. I mentioned this on Friday. These came in, if you guys can see it.
Those are awesome. Are they embroidered?
Oh,
And it's embroidered. Yes, I wasn't sure it
those
was
look
going to be
nice.
embroidered, but we took a poll on Friday and said that the logo needs to be just a little smaller. It's more like a billboard right now. So this is like the first tester, but I'm going to have them bring it in a little bit. But I thought it was very, very cool. So we finally
They
got
look good.
these in.
I'm
Yes,
gonna
thank
get
you.
one.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we'll have to just send you one. Thank you. Since you were the first person to give us a compliment as a guest, you get a free one. How's that sound? We'll send one your way.
You know,
We'll
y'all
send one
club
your way.
sent me like coins a long time
Yeah,
ago.
they've got their coins. That's right. That's so cool.
And a
I
little
commented
pen.
on it Friday.
You're part of the
I
company.
commented on-
Employees of the company are not allowed to win anything.
But that is a cool hat.
Well,
I do like the simplicity of y'all's logo, like just the lettering with the cool like planet O.
Well, thank you.
It's really-
Thank you. Actually, it's an eclipse.
Typography matters.
It's an eclipse.
Eclipse.
It's an eclipse. Absolutely.
Eclipse, yeah.
Yep. Miles, thank you for the nice hats comment. We appreciate that too. Okay, let's you remember Paul Bearer? Yes, Raytheon. Yes, Paul Bearer. Oh god, he was hilarious. But anyway,
That's
that's
a
a whole
funny name.
Don't get me started on monster stuff, guys, because I am a huge Svengoolie. I'll go down
We
that
will
whole
do the
road of
mash,
horror host.
the
Yeah, I'll go
monster
down
mash.
horror host. Yes, the monster mash. Okay, so in gaming, you guys know, especially with Star Citizen, this term feature creep, right? And it has been around for a long time. And so today, chat, we really need your help on this because each one of our panelists and hosts is going to be talking about their feelings about feature creep, if it exists in Star Citizen, if it did win, if they feel that there is no feature creep, it's just the way it is, or the future of feature creep, if there's any future to it. Jammin J. Hey, Jammin, thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. And I said Scoops and D earlier. Okay, thank you guys for the follow. So let's go ahead and kick it off before we start looking at like numbers and dates and all that stuff. Buster, since you're our guest, we're going to let you give us your thoughts on the idea of feature creep in Star Citizen. You can come at it from whatever way you want to come at it, whether,
Yeah.
you know, what people have said to you, your experiences with it, whatever you think. What do you think
Okay.
about it when it comes to Star Citizen?
Star Citizen, you know, like just a little background for me. I started playing in 2016, so I was not an OG backer.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was kind of one of those things where my like, you know, the person I like my ex, he was really into it, and he like on one of our first dates, he had told me about this game he had backed, and so I've known about Star Citizen since it's like the beginning of its backing period, and over the years, before I was even into it, I kind of watched the journey
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree. But in the last 2 years, like almost 2.5 years, been much more involved in it, obviously, out of the 4 years I've been playing. But like, I guess for me, like feature creep, based on just what I know of the beginnings of Star Citizen, it was going to be a much more basic game than what it wanted to be, than what it's turned out to be now. I think what we have now has much exceeded what the original promise was, so to speak, of Star Citizen. And I do think there's elements of it that probably could be accused of feature creep, but I also think that there's a lot of elements of it that it's like it went from being this, like it basically they just made more money than they ever expected to, and they like at the same time had to expand like their company, because you know we started out with Star Citizen with 12 people in a basement at Chris Roberts' house, and now there's 650 employees globally. And so I think like there's a fine line between, okay, what's actually feature creep, but what's also actually like comes from more talented people being in the mix that are like having better and clearer heads when it comes to thinking up the features that in some cases were already promised, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like something like mining, like maybe mining was like was just supposed to be something you do in one ship, and then it kind of, it just because of the team they have behind it, it's sort of like evolved into this much more complicated but but wonderful feature. So I don't know. I think there's a fine line between true feature creep and the idea and that concept of the more talent you have, the more talent you get out of what you're doing, right? If that makes sense, like the more functionality. So I think I think to me that's where I kind of like would, if I was to say something's feature creep or something's like the, you know, I'd have to examine, okay, well, was this created because more talented people came aboard that really found a really good way to make it work? Or is it just, you know, is it just truly feature creep where it was unnecessary to add these things?
Gotcha. Okay. Our Saver Vodka, FR. Hopefully that's France. Thank you for the follow. Big Laggin 07, thank you for the follow. And Seska, thank you. And Standard Dev, thank you for the subscription. Always good to hear. Always nice to hear James Brown. Yes, always good to hear James Brown. Okay, let's go to Younique. Younique, give us your thoughts about feature creep. And by the way, let me preclude. Let me do you last because I know why I need to save you. Fastcart, give me your thoughts on this thing with feature creep.
I'll come at it from the crowdfunding aspect, but I'm gonna bring up a link from the crowdfunding page, not the crowdfunding page, but from the fan-made spreadsheet that we have. I'll put it in the Twitch chat. So people can bring that up. It may take a bit for it to load, but you can see all the different chips and all the different features and all the different milestones that come since the funding goals have ended at 65 million. When that was back in 2014, I want to say. I can look, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But anyway, so since then you can see like every other month, or sometime every month, or sometime like week to week, there's certain things that comes up in the crowdfunding spreadsheet. Either it's a new ship, or something new aspect, or new patch. So in that aspect, we have over 150 ships, probably like maybe closer to maybe 170 or something like that by now that we don't even know about. So that is a lot of ships. And you know, you could say you could whittle that down and say what are the most predominant ships or roles that we really need, and you could probably get rid of a few, like a couple of the Mustangs, or a couple of the 100 series, a couple of the, or maybe one of the 300 series, and maybe you could whittle it down. But I think overall, having more ships gives us more options and more opportunities to do stuff. You may not like one of the Avenger variant. You may prefer a 300 variant, and so I don't think it's feature creep in that aspect. But also, there are times when CID can take on something and make the game better. I came up with this a couple of weeks ago, but I repeat it: a procedural planet. Chris Roberts say we would love to have procedural planet, but we don't have the ability to do that. Two months later, procedural planets are in. So and that vastly improved the game. So in that aspect, I don't think it's feature creep.
Okay, that makes sense. Younique, you've been around since the very beginning. So if there's anybody who can talk about watching and seeing the history of how this has been progressing, it would be you. What's your thoughts?
Oh, well, so as a software engineer myself, to me, the feature creep is defined based on the plan that you have. So if it's in the plan, then it's not feature creep. That's what you're building. If it's something that's not in the plan, then that's feature creep if they choose to go ahead and implement it / pay for the development of that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but a lot of times there are efforts that you attempt to do and then they go bad and they end up in the trash can. Or worse, they don't end up in the trash can and then they end up getting loaded on your PC and you're like, what is this? So those are things. So and a good example of a feature creep that was good, we'll go back to one of the last shows where we talked about the caves, right? So that came out of a good idea that got sparked off of putting the space stations, the randomizer on the space stations together, and it didn't cost a lot to get there, and that's a good feature creep. Some bad feature creeps possibly are the quantity of ships, if they don't really have a role, or going back and having to redesign the ships again because they just didn't work out too well. The Cutlass, had to get redesigned. Not necessarily all of it from, oh, we got new technology. That's some good reasons to redesign the ships. But a lot of it was this first effort just doesn't work, right? So I mean, I hated the Cutlass at first. I had bought the ship from the idea. As soon as I got in it from the first time, sold it off. It was like, I'll never fly this ship again.
Yeah.
And then they redid it, and it was like, wow, this is worth having. So now I have 2 of them. So it's completely crazy.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that Buster said. Buster, you introduced something that's kind of something for us to talk, maybe think about, maybe chat. You guys can give your feelings on this. Buster said that what if the possibility was that they ended up getting so much money coming in, right, that the money demanded that more be put into the game, right? And I guess my question is, did we attribute to some of the feature creep? When the money started rolling in, did we spark that fire in CIG? Did we spark Chris's brain that says, well, wow, if I've got an extra 20 million, I can do such and such, or was this, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Younique, you can talk to this. There is a master plan that we don't see on our side. It's just like a city plan, right? When they're doing a city, they've planned it out for 20 years down the road. So those of us who don't see that roadmap, we're living in it in the moment. But there are a lot of things that I remember several years ago, CIG told us there were at least 150 ships. That was nothing new. We just didn't know what they were. They told us back when it was like maybe 50 or 60 ships, there were at least 150. So evidently there was a map. But my question is money part of what's sparking feature creep? Is all this money, and I'm not complaining about it, I'm just saying, because when we start looking at the roadmap and we start looking at how things came, at one point it used to be, well, if we get this much money, this is what we'll do, right? Then it shifted. It shifted. So anybody got any thoughts on that?
I mean, I would think that, like, I'm gonna kind of like, I think the more people Chris Roberts got, I think money helped, like, that maybe did make, and again, I'm not trying to speak for anybody that's not me, I'm just speculating, but I could see that being a thing, like, oh, well, we ended the year with like 100 million more than we expected, so this gives us a chance to try something. But I don't know, I think more than anything, I would think that they're inspired more to add things by the players themselves and the talent they have in-house. I mean,
so in other words, somebody gets a really good brainstorm and they look at whether it's feasible to do and they go for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I don't see it as being very, like, I just can't, me personally, I couldn't like quantify, like, okay, like, well, I mean, if I'm shopping, it's like, okay, I have $100 more than I thought I would to shop, so maybe I will go ahead and get those boots that I wanted with my outfit. But but that's different than, like, because that's something that's a product that I've been wanting, or I just saw at the store, and I was like, oh, I'd love to have those. Oh wait, I have extra money, I can have those. Whereas, I mean, I don't know how that works with development. I mean, do they have things that they think that they're like, man, it'd be really cool to do that, but we need a lot of money to do that. And then they get that money and they're like, well, we can do that thing. I don't know how to quantify like that kind of thing, because sometimes it seems like that stuff, it needs the talent behind it is what's making it. And I mean, they're not going to be like, well, it's going to take me like, 3 weeks at, my normal salary to do this thing. Right. Like, I don't know. I personally, I just don't see, I could see like things like coming into their mind, like, oh, we have the ability to maybe hire more people in that department to do this thing. I could see that. To me, that could be part, but that's not really feature creep. That's just like,
right.
Well, sometimes go ahead, fastcart.
I'll try to be quick, real quick. I don't think they do it that way. I think they have a dartboard with some ideas on it, and they throw darts, and whatever the darts hit, that's the next plan. No, seriously. I think like you said, I agree with what you said, and it's. I had a thought before I made a joke, but I can't remember the joke.
I told you don't quit your day job. You should just go ahead and take your point. It'll come back.
Later on, yeah.
It'll come back. Go ahead, Younique. What were you gonna say?
Oh, so some of the things when you're developing, you're working on one thing, and the thing that you're working on sparks the idea that could be classified as feature creep, but it's like, oh wow, I just realized we can also do X or also do Y,
Mm-hmm.
and then they explore what it costs to do that and if it's worth the time and effort and the deviation to get there.
Right.
So we can improve this water. We can so when's the cutoff when they improve the water? What's enough? So you see now that they've got seaweed
Fire.
swimming in the water, right?
You're
Fire in
budgeting
the
like
water.
the labor to
Right.
to make it happen. Which, I mean, that's a good point, and I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say. Like maybe that's, and I just didn't say it as well as that, but yeah, that's a good point because they have to budget an idea essentially.
Yeah, you just get into creative mode sometimes, and other things come out of that, and then you just have to vet whether it's worthwhile or doing. And we've kind of set this up so to give them some creative freedom. It's like, yes, we want these stretch goals. We do need you to deliver that. They've got other things planned, whether they just recently came up in the last couple of years and they haven't told us about it. So there's an overall plan. Things are getting fit into that, and they are very specifically only showing you on the calendar how much, only like 3, 4, 5 months out,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not really sure about those other things, right? They're not stretch goals. They're things maybe Chris wants to do if possible. But until we sort of finish like the next 4 months, you can't add something on there that even if it was feature creep, as
So,
long as he's got the money for it.
can I ask you,
can do it.
Younique, do you think what you just said, do you think that's more indicative of just kind of what you said, like they don't know what might come up? Like it's like, oh, we're kind of playing, like it's a little more like seat of their pants? Or do you think that's more indicative of they don't want to say stuff and it not happen?
Well, you just went where I was going to go, Buster, because I was going to say there's a good and bad to the transparency, and we've seen this within the community. If
Oh my
CIG
God,
tells
yeah.
us too much and doesn't deliver, then we are the ones who are also picking up the stones and throwing them at them.
Almost so.
And then at the same time,
But if they surprise
if
us
they-
with something,
right,
they're
then
like,
yeah,
we're
then
like, oh,
exactly.
But
so
then there's
a
always,
tightrope.
even when they surprise us with something, there's always still those people that are like, did they really work on that? Did we really need that?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it either way, like it's always gonna be like, I think you've said this and I've said this before. It's always a losing game.
Mhm.
Like it's always like a
Mhm.
never win game
Yeah.
with that side of what they
Yeah.
do. It's like, because even when they do
Can't
something
please
that like
everybody.
everybody should like, there's always people who are like, well, they've been in development for like 8 years. Oh, they should have had that done like 2 years ago. Like,
No, you're right. You're right. And I think the tightrope for them is that they need to honor their word. And what I mean by that is whatever they say, they need to choose their words wisely with the community. Because as long as they say, listen, we told you, this was the information. It's like that little, the little thing you check off the little box when you buy a ship. How many people don't read that ship could turn into a turtle next week, and they have the right to do it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's their thing that they have. They have to make sure that they don't overpromise, but at the same time give enough to keep the interest of the community. You know what I mean? So that we're hoping
Yeah.
and wondering what's that next new, not just new, but I think the people who are coming to Star Citizen are coming
The
for
next
also
steps
what's
are.
that next step is, what's that innovation, what's that thing that we've never seen before
they're-
in a game. That's what makes people want to keep coming back more than just
yeah.
I'm going to get to fly in space, because there are plenty of games that allow you to do that.
I mean,
Fastcart.
there's-
Don't promise to come out in 2016 and then don't come out in 2016.
Well,
that's one
2014,
thing.
2015,
Oh,
2016. Yeah, I mean, several times.
Yeah, they've stopped giving us dates. I think, I mean, in the community, like especially this last few months, I've really felt like the community's been very like vocal about how they feel that CIG's been like underserving them when it comes to their transparency. I mean, I think we all agree the last one part of it I think is like the whole roadmap fiasco is going on right now, but the other part of it I think also is honestly it's COVID. People are at home more. People are consuming more content of different kinds, whether it's like reading articles, it's watching YouTube, it's watching Twitch. Basically, I just feel like the whole world's been a little grumpier.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yo, for good reason.
Yeah, Donatello, I want to read your comment, but I do want to say that it took me, I'm very tired, and I was trying to figure out your name. Was it Do Not Tell A Da Vinci Donut, day not. I could not get it together, and it finally hit me that was one word, Donatello. So I like that name. Donatello says half the people don't actually understand what it takes to even release things like gameplay or a ship. It's a lot of work for one small thing. And I want to spin off of that and ask you guys this next question, because then I'm going to come to the question that Gecko asks. In Chris's, not his most recent letter, but in the letter where he gave the example of the ship that takes damage and catches fire. Remember that letter? He talked about, all these things that take place when the ship gets pierced. It sets off a chain of actions that eventually create a fire on the ship.
Yeah.
The thing that he said in there that blew my mind was when they were talking about, he was responding talking about vacuum and oxygen in the ship. And they talked about how there's certain things that they have created, they're just not implemented yet. But he said something that I never gave any thought to. He said, oh, well, once we get the ventilation systems and the vents working on the ships, then we'll have oxygen, right? Now, it's one thing for me to tell me there's oxygen in the ship. There's another thing when you're telling me that it's actually blowing through a ventilation system on the ship, right? Is that too much for some people? Do some people really care that the air actually blows out through the vent? Is it like, you're holding up the game, we really don't care if the oxygen is blowing down these pipes through the side of the ship and comes out through the vent? Or is that going to mean something? Because Chris, it seems, Chris always is putting things in the game to have some meaning, not just for the sake of them being there, but it's actually going to mean something.
Oh, that's cool. Like he tends to want to have a purpose for everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
So things like that, you got to look at the roles that they're looking to have in the game. So if you're going to have multiplayer ships and then you're flying a multiplayer ship, immediately the pilot has something to do. The gunner has something to do, but then you've got a couple of nebulous things like the navigator, the engineer, the cook, these other roles that are sort of lesser in the thing. But if you're an engineer on the ship, what are you going to do? You should be the person that is repairing things. So what are you going to be repairing? If the ship isn't very detailed and have things to do, that's actually not a role to cherish in the game, right? But if you've got to swap components and you've got to get out there and find the switches and replace the fuses and unblock the air ducts so that unjam the doors, things like that that are happening on the ship while the ship is going off into battle and getting breached, sealing that breach, stuff like that, or spacewalk and do some soldering or whatever, welding to get that hole, get a plate mounted on the side of the ship and stop the air from leaving the ship. That's
like a whole
the
process.
engineer's job.
Right.
So you've got to have enough realism in the game to make that role viable in the game. If you don't,
not be just standing at a console and pushing a sequence of buttons and the hole is magically fixed.
Right.
I think I'm glad you said that, because that makes me think of how do you play Dungeons and Dragons? Are you the kind of person who goes and you play like your bard, who do you just say, well, my bard sings a song, and you roll your dice, and then your DM's like, okay, well, your song really worked and that was really great? Or are you the kind of person who is going to go in and you're going to actually have a whole song prepared or even picked out, you're going to role play it out more to make it a scene, and then you roll your die, and then in that case, I don't know about you guys, but I've had DMs where the role play itself, they don't even make me roll the die, because they're like, that was really good role play and I'm going to reward you for that. And so I feel like that's the kind of DM Chris Roberts wants to be, if that makes sense.
Right. Agreed.
He's that guy. He wants you to actually have to work rather than it's just we magically fixed the hole.
Right.
Well, you could magically fix the hole, and I'm going to take you back to the level, what was it, the stretch goal of 4.5 million. And in it, one of the things is that you would get a repair bot. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, the repair
bot.
But
I do. So in that case, if you had the repair bot, you could push the button on the console and the repair bot would go do the stuff, right? So you could have that style of gameplay too. I don't think we're going to get repair bots that are going to be significant, because every time they have something that stretches, like the mines and underground tunnels and stuff like that, I write an email to CIG and I asked them specifically, "Where's my repair bot?" Poking them that this is a creep. Why haven't you finished my repair bot at the 4.5 million? You've got $300 million now. How hard can an R2D2 be? Right? And their response every time is, just stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to go
They're
to.
sick of your shit.
they know him when they get it. All right, here's a question that Gecko asked earlier and said, do they have incentive to release the game? I have an answer, but I'm going to let you guys. Younique, why don't you start with you? What's the incentive to release the game instead of just keeping this going and just keep drawing in money until the well runs dry? What's the incentive to release the game? And let me say before you answer, chat, we want to make sure that we distinguish the difference between Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. Okay, please keep those two things in mind because one does have a timeline. The other one doesn't have a timeline. Not the same timeline, I should say. So, and by the way, panel, when you guys respond, kind of keep that in mind, however you're answering, whether you're talking about Squadron or Star Citizen. Go ahead, Younique.
So for Star Citizen, it's just even more money, right? So we have backers that want to see the game happen, but how many people are waiting for the game to actually come out, okay, and then get into some rhythm of once the game is there, whether they are charging for it or not for that level of person to come on later. I don't know if you know that, you see the television stuff around in the universe and the technology where they can broadcast things into that. I actually feel that, they're able to take real advertisements, Coca-Cola, et cetera, and broadcast it into the game so they can get revenue from there. If the game is done, the technologies like the procedural planets and other things, the tech that they've built that's unique in the next level of gaming is licensable to other games. So it's a bigger well of money to come when it's done. So they have an incentive to finish it so that they can actually turn on the bigger money of faucets.
That's a good point. Amorphous Solid, thank you for the follow. Buster, what about you? Do you think they have incentive to get the game out or just,
I absolutely do. I think this is kind of where I always go with Star Citizen versus Squadron 42. Squadron 42 is going to be what gets more people into Star Citizen. Squadron 42, if Squadron 42 doesn't find a way to go to console, which I'm sure they're already in talks with like Sony and Microsoft for that, then they'd be crazy. They'd be crazy not to try to get that specific game on console too. Because that's going to be the game that makes people go, oh man, this is a really cool game. Wait, this is the same people making that Star Citizen game that's been going on for like 8 years? Well, shit, I need to go play Star Citizen because like if I could play this and this is super cool, I can only imagine how cool the MMO would be. And so to me, like Squadron is going to be like, it's the money baby. It's like the little baby they got raised so it can go college and make monies and take care of them when they're old. But like, they have to get Squadron. I think that's why there's so much like we don't know about Squadron. Like, I know they're trying to update us about Squadron and things like that, but I also think that's one of the reasons they're very, very adamant about not spoiling Squadron as much as like as little. They don't want to spoil Squadron because they want it to be that game that comes out that just like hits people and goes and makes people go whoa, whoa, that are especially people outside the community, because as much as they love us now and their community and what they have, there's over 2 million of us. I mean, wouldn't it be better for them to have like tens of millions of people that are interested in the project? Wouldn't that be even? And for some of us, that might feel like, oh, there's all these new people here, and I don't like this, and now there's all these kids that used to play Fortnite playing my space game. But you know what? Those kids that play Fortnite, they're gonna grow up and they're gonna want some other games. Like there's nothing wrong with them needing to Squadron to make the money. And the thing is I want Squadron to be really successful because I want so much more. Like I want them to be freed up to really get Star Citizen hammered out, and then again eventually start like working on the next Squadron game, because I think they promised, or their intent is a trilogy of Squadron games.
Good point. Fastcart, any thoughts?
So first, I'm late for this, but I got to do this for Nihilist. I'm going to give them a small clap. So anyway, I'm coming at it from a different angle. I think they have an incentive to bring out Squadron 42 and Star Citizen just to prove the nature is wrong, and just to prove that you don't need an Ubisoft, you don't need an EA, you don't need a big publisher behind you in order to publish a AAA game, or in this case, 2 AAA games.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to your point, Squadron 42, I think that's the reason why I wanted to make that distinguishing factor in the beginning, because people keep blurring the lines between those two. Squadron 42, as you said, Buster, that's the kind of creme de la creme, rather, in the sense of where the funding is going to come from. When you have a AAA game that's now going to get unleashed to 10 million, 20 million people at $60 a pop, you're talking about a good generator of funds. Star Citizen's world is the world that we are getting as the addition. And I know sometimes when people talk about what's taking so long, what's holding up the game, I often have to ask people, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about Squadron, or are you talking about Star Citizen? If you're waiting on Star Citizen, yeah, like if you're waiting on Star Citizen, pull up a chair, get some popcorn and wait, because it's going to take some time.
Most people in the community, that's the game. That's the game.
Yeah.
Like everybody, I feel like a lot of backers right now are more like, because they can play Star Citizen and they are playing Star Citizen, they're more concerned about Star Citizen itself. Whereas like Squadron, they just think, well, I mean, it's a single player. I'll play it like once or twice and I'll be happy, and that'll be the end of that. And the thing is like Squadron's the one you got to watch out for, because that's going to be the get. That's going to be like the thing that makes that really puts CIG on the map. I mean, CIG's already on a map, right? Like everybody knows who they are in the gaming world, and especially the PC gaming world. But Squadron 42 is what's going to make them hopefully go beyond just PC. Like hopefully, I guess that's why I keep saying they would be crazy not to try to get it on console, because I mean, where are most people playing games these days? Consoles.
May I ask a quick question? And maybe Shaq can answer this too. Which game are everyone here looking forward to more? Squadron 42 or Star Citizen, or just both equally?
I play enough Star Citizen. I'm way more looking forward to Squadron 42 at this point.
I'm a big MMO person, so I'm looking forward to Squadron 42. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to playing through it and seeing how it turns out in the end, and of course a good story, which Chris is pretty much known for. But ultimately, I'm living in the world of Star Citizen is where I want to be. That just knowing that I can just at any time jump into that world and see who's out there and do stuff really draws my attention.
I, from a long time ago, again, the original backing was for Squadron 42, basically a single player game. A game by Chris Roberts in his style, and again, a long time fan of his work. That's what I signed up for originally. So the MMO was a stretch goal, which just said, wow, if I play Squadron, this stretch goal, you can move into the MMO. So I'm actually looking forward to doing both. And jumping back and forth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to both.
Okay.
Just quick question.
Sure. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got on the screen here. Some of you who may not have been around back in the day may not have ever seen this screen. This was a huge turning point screen for people with Star Citizen. It was when CIG asked if they should continue to offer stretch goals. Okay, because this is, I don't know, Younique, if you remember roughly when this question was asked, because they did come forward and ask the community to get their response. And the overwhelming response went toward the answer yes. It was yes, we want you to continue with the stretch goals. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because sometimes people may think that CIG just went on ahead and started implementing all this stuff and never got any feedback from the community, but they did get feedback from the community. Some people remember the old survey that was taken about what is the thing that you want to do in Star Citizen the most.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, and you at fastcart, tell them what the expected answer was and what was the final answer.
I think most people expected the answer to be combat or maybe bounty hunting or something like that. But the overall answer, the most popular answer was exploration.
Yep. So they have, in the early days, they did ask community to find out what they wanted to see or what they wanted to have happen in Star Citizen. So we're going to take a quick jump. We're going to try to read this as best we can. I know the lettering is small on the screen for you folks who are watching, so we're going to try and just kind of point out highlights. There's a lot of data here, so we're not going to read everything, but we will just try to do a quick overview. This is where we stand right now on the RSI site. We're at $316,117,629, and they don't tell us how many cents, so we have to write in about that. But right now we're at 2.8 star citizens, and those are registered people. Now we know that we don't have 2 million people playing the game at any given time, but those are people who have signed up through the website. Go ahead.
May I clarify real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Those are 2 people who are signed up, but those are not necessarily backers. Those are just accounts.
Right.
And
Yep. They're just people who've just signed up. They just got accounts. That's it. Okay. And what I want to do now is just kind of cycle through this a little bit. And Younique, like I said, you were around back in the day when this kind of got started with stretch goals. But this was one of the very first stretch goals. Was it $2 million at the very beginning? Younique, what was the exact amount? Do you remember?
No, they had the actual first campaign was to raise 2 million, but that was the 2 million stretch goal came after.
Okay, afterward.
Right? They didn't have stretch goals. They were just funding.
Okay, right. Okay, so they got that original funding and then they moved into stretch goals, right? Because it was what, 6 million.
It had the date right there. It had the date right there. It said January 9th.
Oh, it does? Okay, I'm not seeing the date on here for some dumb reason. Maybe my screen
Oh, wait, that can't be the right date.
Yeah.
And it seems that they're actually missing some stretch goals because the original stretch goals were only like $100,000 stretch goals.
Yeah, but I think this might be what you said, Younique, that this was effective. This says October 31st, 2012 when the campaign starts. Then this is in October on the 24th of 2012. They're at 2 million. Now maybe this is just the way they broke it down, because Younique, if I remember correctly, you told me within that 2-month period they actually raised $6 million. Is that right?
Right.
By the time
something crazy. Like they just blew right past the number they were asking for.
Okay, yeah, because the dates are here. Platinum Fox, thank you for the follow. So, okay, I'm going to try to scroll through this with dates, and hopefully if you guys can read it, you can see it. But at the very beginning, it says with the regular community updates. Mind you, regular is relative, right? Because we don't know what regular means, monthly, weekly, or whatever. Citizens with appropriate packages will get to play in the multiplayer dogfighting module, and citizens with the appropriate packages will receive access to the 30-mission Squadron 42 campaign upon release. So that's where things all got started, right? If they got 2 million.
That was the initial idea, basically, of that money that they collected.
Okay, gotcha. If you guys see anything in chat that I need to look at, let me know, or a question, because I'm kind of looking to my right here as I'm trying to scroll. Let's go to the next one after that, which is the $3 million goal. Increased community updates from the RSI website. Now they've gone to talking about doing a website. Squadron 42 will have 35 missions. Citizens with appropriate packages will receive access to the Star Citizen universe with 40 star systems for persistent online play upon released. Okay, so here there is a distinction, and this is as of the date here is weird. Oh no, it's the 7th of November. Okay, so this is 2 months after the Kickstarter gets started, roughly. Okay, where they're saying that they're at 3 million. On the 11th of November, it moves to Star Citizen. They do another little bump here. Star Citizen will feature an additional flyable ship, the Misk Starfarer. Younique, did they have in the very beginning? Did they outline ships at the beginning, or did he just talk about Squadron and that was it? Because they do list ships in this breakdown. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were sporting the teaser videos that they had, and so everyone was seeing the ships that were in there. So,
okay,
these were some newer ships that they were saying, well, we've got these things, and this is what that ship would do.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that was as of the 11th of November. 2 days later, evidently money, like you said, Younique, money is evidently flowing in, because now they've got $500,000 2 days later. Cockpit decorations. Turn your stock cockpit into your home with personalized decorations. Amaze your friends with bobbleheads, photographs, dinosaurs, fuzzy dice, nose art, posters, and many more cool options.
Sounds like they're just trying to make everybody a bat cave.
Yeah.
Can I bring up the point about bobblehead? It's like a few months ago they had a Star Citizen Live putting together a bobblehead, and the community went crazy about that.
Oh my
But,
God, the bobblehead stream freaking almost broke this community.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So as you can see, this is the early stretch goals where they promised bobblehead, and this is just them delivering on the promise.
And I think that's important. That's one of the reasons why we're going back and looking at this, because people thought that bobblehead thing was like, why the heck are they doing that? Well, because they actually had said that they were going to do it. So, you know, like it or not, it was one of their stretch goals that they were trying to fulfill. I know that seems really, really strange, but yeah, there you go.
Hey, Black and White, fuzzy dice are perfectly great. Okay, thank you very much. You can go and you can go live in your little world where you don't where fuzzy dice are hated. Everybody loves fuzzy dice.
It was a stretch goal. It was bought and paid for. They got to deliver it.
All right. The other thing that they mentioned at 3.5 million is shipboarding. And by the way, I would like to kind of go through these. There's things that we know that they have added that are in, and the things that aren't. We can kind of note that as well. Learn more about the Star Citizen will allow players to conduct boarding operations. Okay. From there, we go up another notch by another 250,000 to 3.75. 750 rather. Star Citizen will feature an additional flyable ship. They add the Retaliator at this point. Now, they hit a landmark, which is 4 million. At 4 million, there's a whole bunch of stuff they add here. A new star system will be added for the game for every, check this out, for every $100,000 pledged.
Yeah, they gave up on that a long time ago.
With descriptions.
100, we're just doing 100, people.
Right. With descriptions in the comics. So this is what they came up with. At 3.1, they added the Odin system. 3.2, Tyrol. Then they added Kellogg. Then Goss, Orion, Ellis, Cathcart, Ty, or is it Tal, Geddon, and Kronos. Those were all added at that point.
Wait, go scroll down and let me see the name of Kronos.
It's spelled with a CH, not a K. I know you want to make sure, right? I know you want to make sure.
The Klingon people.
The RSI website will feature a monthly Wingman's Hangar webcast from the development team. Professional mod tools will be provided free to all players. Squadron 42 will feature a richer storyline and 45 total missions. And then Star Citizen will launch with 50 star systems. We go up by 10. And feature an additional flyable ship, the Drake Interplanetary Cutlass. Okay. It's amazing what $1 million will get you. Were you going to say
real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
At 2.5 million, you missed it, but they added the Anvil Gladiator.
I missed that. Okay, thank you.
If they kept up with that, like 100, what was it, every $100,000?
Oh my God.
They would have to do 3,000 right now.
It is a good thing they stopped. You're right. It's a good thing they stopped. Okay.
I'm sorry, that makes me laugh.
It's crazy, I know. All right, so when they get to 4.5, they add another 500,000. Star System will launch with 60 star systems. Star Citizen will feature an additional playable ship class, the Cruiser. It's a cruiser class. I don't think we have a cruiser class. I don't think they call anything cruisers in the game.
They probably changed the name.
Yeah, probably. Okay, now here we go. Younique, I'm going to hit you with this one. All Kickstarter goals are unlocked. Backers before October 29th will start Star Citizen with a Class 1 repair bot in their garage. All backers before November 8th will start Star Citizen with 500 additional credits. Extended hardcore flight sim controller support. Flight chairs, multiple monitors, track IR, MFDs, and more on launch.
Mostly in the game.
Yep, Star Citizen will feature 4 additional playable ship classes. Idris, Origin M50, Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar, and Destroyers. Star Citizen will feature 2...
Buster, you're in the game?
Oh, God. Never mind. Don't entertain him. Star Citizen will feature 2 additional base types. Vandal Trading Posts and Hidden Smuggler Asteroids. And then the last one is Star Citizen will feature an additional alien race, the Kurtak. Does people know about that? I know you always talk about Vandal and Xi'an. I don't know if anybody ever thinks about that.
Yeah, I remember them.
You remember them? Okay.
Well, you got the Vandal, the Xi'an, the Banu so far.
Yep.
We've not heard anything since that post about that race.
Yep. But just so folks know, there is that race and other ones too, by the way, that they haven't talked about. Okay, we're not gonna. Again, I can't read through all this, but at 5 million, they do things like enhanced boarding options, such as melee combat, heavy weapons, zero gravity simulation, suit HUD options, and EVA combat. I think we've got most of that, right? Increased ship customization, tablet companion application to check on your inventory, commission and find missions. So I guess
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, because they showed that at the Apple Store on New Babbage. They've got those tablets on the wall down there. So they have shown that. I feel good. Maddie LaRusso, thank you for the 1 month subscription. We appreciate it.
I love how we all refuse to call it what it actually is, and we all just call it the Apple Store. It's like me and like the swines when you're leaving a space station. And I call them Tron Hallway.
That's funny, the Tron Hallway, but it does remind me of that. You're right. RSI Webcast will feature a monthly town hall Q&A with Chris Roberts. Well, I will say this. They did
it for a little while.
They did for a while, but they stopped, right? Because like you said, Buster, if they kept doing all this stuff, they'd be worn out.
Honestly, they've really, since Star Citizen Live and ISC came live, that was like once they finished Around the Verse and they didn't do that anymore. It's like they've really pulled Chris back for things like Pillar Talks, and I think it's because Chris Roberts is famously he's infamous for how talkative he is.
Oh yeah,
and they have to really corral him out of conversations.
Definitely.
Sometimes.
Squadron 42 will feature celebrity voice acting, including at least one favorite person from the Wing Commander.
They didn't do that at all. That hadn't happened.
Yeah, right.
What?
And then 50 total missions. So now the missions have pushed up again here. Star Citizen will launch with 70 star systems. That is going up by 10 now. Star System will feature an additional base type. Can you discover the alien derelict? And we know that there's going to be plenty of those, not just one. Okay.
I think right around this time frame too is when Chris Roberts came on the air and sort of started pitching out that they were just going to have 1 million increments of stretch goals, sort of in this range.
Okay,
gotcha. They stop with the 100,000 things.
That makes sense.
When you're just getting like under 10 million, then it makes sense to do those things. But then like you're at the point where you're got 300 million. Yeah, you got to stop that.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no way.
They stopped it before they got 10 million.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, what's really interesting about this, all this stuff we're reading, this all happened in 1 month. This is all added in November. We haven't gotten out of November, and they're constantly, almost every 2-3 days.
2012 November.
They're adding stuff.
I'm never going to hold CIG to exactly what they said in the span of a month 8 years ago.
Yeah. Well, trust me, there will be some that will. Trust me.
That was good, yeah.
We won't talk about who's looking for their repair bot still. So you know.
Scroll back to my repair bot. I want a repair bot.
But can we like break off at this point for a second and talk about that concept? How there are those out there like who want their damn repair bot. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's people who like me who didn't really get into the game like till years later. And so I don't think I've ever gone back and seen all this. I think at some point I probably scrolled over it, but like a lot of this is like new to me to hear this. And it's like, I don't freaking care what you said eight years ago in the span of a month.
Yeah.
Because clearly like the big parts they've hit, like some of the big things there they've hit, but they haven't gotten the repair drone, and I will ask them about that.
Well, let me give you this, Buster, just so you
got to realize that the only reason you're in the game is because of the OG backers that
but that's a good.
So you should get on my bandwagon about my repair bot.
She said she's going to
run. Or when you're stranded in space, I'm just going to zoom right past.
That's what I'm saying. But see, okay, I see where you're coming from, because like I was just about to say, like obviously, like all you guys that pledged like all those years ago, so in such great amount, made possible what's happening today, right? And then people like me who just came in like a few years ago, like we're like, oh cool, I get to play space game. You know, obviously, like there is that recognition of like, yes, original backers like got us to where we are. Like they started the fire. They were the spark that helped start the fire.
Right.
But now, like the fire's been burning for so long, and like the buildings, like so much of the town's like burnt up that I'm not gonna remember like the tomato soup that was on my counter, that was on somebody's countertop.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm not trying to say they shouldn't hold up to some of these things. But at the same time, like, things have developed in a way that some of those things, like the repair bot, like, because we talked about that earlier. We talked about, like, well, Chris Roberts is the kind of person who really he wants you to like go through this whole thing. Like he doesn't want it just to be press a few buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And so will something like a repair bot, like will that like that's a perfect example of something that may not be so relevant to today's gameplay.
And
Not
it
that I don't
might
think they
not
should
be.
add it.
It might not be, and it's okay. But they should voice and say that, look, we want to
And
change this, and we're going to
that's a
offer
good point.
X, Y, Z, not just
Yeah.
throw it out the door. Because
You're 100%
again, we
right.
bought and paid for it. So just think back at this 5 million mark. What do you think would happen if the OG people said, you know what, we're not paying for this?
Yeah.
All future relevant discussions now are gone. This channel doesn't happen. Everybody else is playing whatever stupid game that they're playing now. On the side, waiting for Star Citizen to come up. You know,
Yeah.
That's really it. And all they've got is their word, which they've documented. So,
Right. And that goes back to
holding
what we
them
said
to this
earlier.
is much more about accountability and saying, hey, don't forget the things that you've kind of done. It's okay if you want to change it, but again, you need to come to the community and say you want to change it. What do you want to change it to? Let us
come forward
vote on
and
that,
just,
and then
yeah.
I'll give up my repair bot. I'll even give it up for the caves. They've already given it to us.
Yeah.
But they didn't offer
Real
that.
quick.
Go ahead, Fastcart.
Real quick, I think Buster brings up an interesting point, not directly, indirectly, is that people who back when they back probably care less about stuff that they promised before when they back. Like I backed in 2014 October, so I wasn't familiar about repair bot or other stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't care about it, but I care about it less than the reason when I back. They had the Mercerman and the Endeavor was soon after. So I care more about the stuff that was promised after I back than I care about the stuff that was promised before I back. And I don't think I'm alone in that.
Well, I think that's the point. Each one of us has backed at different times, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you a good example of why it's important. Right now, one of the people, and Buster, I don't know if you remember this, but when the Avenger first came out, it came out in the bounty hunting form. It had jail cells in it. There was no Titan.
Oh yeah.
It had the 6 chambers in it or 8 chambers in it, right? Because originally they said you'd be able to take them out and swap it, right? But people who bought the Cutlass Blue, part of buying the Cutlass Blue package was a stun baton, handcuffs, because people who wanted to do like arresting and policing, that was an incentive for them in their package in the early days. So now we just saw on the last newsletter that came out, the handcuffs are on there. In fact, when you come out of your Easy Hab, if you go to that counter where the guy is standing, there are handcuffs in there. They've been in there for a while. So even though that happened way back when, that's one of those things like the bobbleheads that is going to pop back up in the game.
Yeah.
I can tell Younique now the repair bot is going to come. Only reason why we know the repair bots are going to come is because the droids are coming, and the repair droids are coming for ships like the Vulcan and stuff. So it'll be a matter of the drones. It'll be a matter of when, but I guarantee you that they will probably pop up in the game. But everybody wants what Fastcart said. Everybody's kind of concerned about what was there when they came in the game. But for people who bought some of, like I remember when you bought the Constellation package, there was like 30 items that they would give you in the Constellation package. The soundtrack to the game, a map, a cloth map. There was all this crap that I paid $275 for. So if you're going to tell me all you're going to give me is my virtual ship, but you're not going to give me all of the other stuff that was supposed to come with it, I'm going to bark about it. I am.
Don't forget that USB drive is supposed to have the
installation. Yeah, the USB drive
that's
supposed to have Star Citizen on it, right? But also to Buster's point, I think that there are some things that have morphed over time with the development that have moved into other things. But to Younique's point, and we said this at the very beginning, their word is what they got to stand by. So and all they got to do is come to the community and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to do this, but we're going to do this. As long as people know that, but people don't want to be sitting here looking for stuff.
We're not going to give you handcuffs, but maybe instead we'll give you what is it? What are those things where it's the handcuffs and the like handcuffs around your feet? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, like shackles, some type of shackle or something like that.
We're not going to give you handcuffs, but we get shackle. Like I totally agree with you. I agree with you, Younique. I agree with you because I do because like you made a good point of like they must come forward and say something about those things, even if it's from 8 years ago. And somebody in chat said something about like I just want to see the game, all the ships come into game that because we do have some big ships in the game, some really big capital ships that or things that have been promised as part of the game since the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, ships are different, right? I would think like, okay, like a pair of handcuffs, like a repair drone, things like that. Like obviously those are cut. They've come, but those are a little different than the actual ship.
Well, there are. We were just talking about this the other day, that there's a couple ships, Buster, that are from the original concept that we still haven't seen yet. Only a couple.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Most of them they fulfill.
But also know that the original backers, while we did back a long time ago, yes, I want to see the repair bots. That was part of my idea of the game when I did back it. But as time goes on, we've purchased other ships and things forward. So we also care about the things you care about. We just care about more of it, actually.
Yeah, you just have a bigger backlog of things you care about.
Yeah. And so, for me, the backlog's a lot bigger than your backlog of stuff you're not seeing.
Yeah.
Well,
my biggest piece in my backlog is for all those for the female model to have more clothes.
Yes. Say that.
And hairstyle.
Say that. Yes. Okay, so let me jump back in because I'm going to blow through these a little bit more. 5.5, professional motion capture. You guys know that CIG was originally leasing out. They were doing Andy Serkis's place, and then they finally ended up buying their own rig and system and stuff. So that was one of their purchases.
And now they call it performance capture to the motion capture.
Right, performance capture. Exclusive record breaker ship skiing. Star Citizen will feature the Bengal Carrier. So the Bengal gets introduced at this point in the game.
Bengal.
Yes, and it says as a playable ship class. That's what's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
it was in the trailers in the original stuff.
Right, but playable is another story. Yeah,
I don't think I remember. I don't think I ever recall them saying the playable ship class. I never heard that. But I don't recall that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if that actually happens. Anyway, 6 million, and I'm going to jump after the 6 million mark because this is the point now what Younique was telling us. This is actually when the Kickstarter closed off. It only ran for 2 months, so if you weren't in that window, you missed out on the original thing. Star Citizen will launch with 100 star systems. The Bengal Carrier will be unlocked for persistent universe play. Star Citizen and Squadron 42 will feature a full orchestral score, and then first Squadron 42 mission disc Behind Enemy Lines will be available for free to all backers who pledge before the $6 million release. So basically, the making of Star Citizen. People like Younique are lucky enough to get that. The rest of us will have to watch it on YouTube. Okay? Let's see. It's just kind of interesting. All right, so I'm going to jump through numbers now versus jumping through. And if you guys see anything, I hope you all are looking at the screen with me, hosts. If there's something that you want to talk about that you see in these mission goals, just stop me because I'm just going to read the numbers and kind of hit through these. In April, that following year, in 2013, they jumped to $9 million. By September, they were at $10 million. By June of, what is that? What year is that? June 27th of 2013, they were at $11 million. So they're gaining at July, $12 million. They're getting a lot of money every month here. July 4th of 2013, they're at $13 million. When we get there, they mentioned that they're going to bring in the frigate class of ships. They're going to have a command and control center, supervise the battle from the deck of your Idris or a destroyer to be announced with advanced C&C packages and allow you to tie all your ships together and assume a central command from a third seat. Now,
C&C is command and control.
Command and control, right? So, when we look at ships like the Idris and stuff, when we see that center seat that's sitting there, they're saying that from there you should be able to direct your fleet, which is interesting to see how they're going to do that. 14 million. Hibernation mode. For the explorers out there, we will add the ability to save and resume when you're out in space. Basically how we log out now and we go to sleep, okay? Professional quality feature link behind the scenes, and Star Citizen will feature a fourth land out option on Earth. Where will it be? Oh, that's because in the beginning there were only 3 locations. It was New York. What was it? New York? Shanghai and Russia. Was it Moscow or something? I forget.
Moscow, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But they said they're going to.
Okay, can I just ask about the behind the scenes Star Citizen film? How long do you think that's going to be now? That's got to be like Lord of the Rings extended edition by now.
Poor Jared.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to remind him, and he's going to be like, ah.
Because they can't put that. They can't only have that in 2 hours. Because
No.
that's like too much to put into 2 hours. So how
Yeah.
long do you think that's gonna be?
I have no idea.
I just want it to be a movie of Jared doing various skits about how this game came together. I mean, the man shit posted his way into a job at CIG. I'd love for him to just shit post the whole movie.
All right, 15 million. Star Citizen features the new ship class, the escort carrier. Do we have an escort carrier? I don't know if we have that, do we? Would the Kraken fall into that category? I don't know.
I mean, it's
the
a carrier
Pegasus.
escort.
Pegasus.
No, Pegasus is huge.
Pegasus is the carrier.
That's
the
key
escort.
Yeah, that's the granddaddy ship.
Yeah, that's what people are saying in chat. Well, people say it.
The
so,
Pegasus,
yeah.
really? I'm surprised that the Pegasus would be considered that. Okay. Let's see. Every backer will get a 42-page upgrade handbook. Yeah, okay, we won't even worry about that. 16 million.
PDF.
16 million. The arena mode. Next generation of Wing Commander allows pilots to test out their combat skills against their friends and strangers in a simulation. Gain valuable combat experience without the downside of losing your ship. Every pledger who backs before 16 million will receive a laser pistol. Keep your
I want a laser pistol.
Yeah, well, I think everybody got that arc light. I think it's the arc light pistol.
Yeah.
Right. All right, 17 million. Every pledger who backs before 17 million will receive a ship upgrade package containing an engine modifier. I think that they did give us that because I think I got a cooler in my thing.
Right.
Star Citizen will feature additional flyable ship class, the battle cruisers.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, 18 million. We're now in September of 2013. Exclusive Star Citizen for pre-launch backers. Only players who support the game before its launch will receive the computer coordinates needed to allow their jump drives to access this system. Huh.
I don't remember that one.
I don't remember that one either. Okay, that's interesting. 19 million. Know Your Foe with Jane's Flight Ships Manual. Okay, that's a PDF. Manage ships. Okay, here we go. 19 million. Manage space stations. Players will compete to own and operate a limited number of space stations across the galaxy. What do you guys think about that?
Please don't.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a monster. I think that's going to be a huge monster.
Honestly, like things like the Bengals, I think it's the javelins or whatever. They're supposed to be like javelins that at some point people that's one of the big things that I know a lot of my
the one that's damaged that you can go out and repair.
One is damaged, you can go in, you can sort of take it over, get it repaired, and basically like maintain it, and it becomes you and your orgs until at least until somebody bests you and takes it over from you. And I am not looking forward. For that kind of thing, that sounds fun. But for space stations, oh my god, like they better not be able to control the prices. That's all I'm saying. Because you know that there'd be
all I have to say is Test Squadron will probably try to take control of all of them if they can.
Nah, we wouldn't do that.
Well, that's PvP, you know. I mean, they tested a little bit with Port Korea.
RSI Museum will air monthly with new game features each time. Yeah, okay. $20 million stretch.
Wait.
What?
What's RSI Museum?
You see, I skipped right over it, right? Weren't you the one to say that I don't care about that old stuff? That's exactly what I was doing then and there.
I care enough because I'm not. It's not that I necessarily care, but what does that even mean?
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be some type of show, basically, that aired. Like you said, these things.
With a new game featured, what is it like? There, like CIG.
Here's the.
Hey, we like to play these games, or we like to do this.
Here's the serious thing. I think that probably became Lawmaker's Guide to the Galaxy. That probably was in place of the museum.
That's probably the closest thing to it, because I don't know if you knew this, Buster. There used to be a newscast that RSI used to put out. With newscasters. What's her name was one of them. Sandy was one of them. There was 3 people, and they would do these like news, like hot flash news breaks that would come on and like in a news station, and they would be like, like breaking news, blah blah blah, the UEE, blah blah blah. They used to do that back in the day. There's so much stuff that has come and gone. It would kind of blow your mind as how much stuff that really used to be out there.
The thing that confuses me about it is RSI Museum will air monthly with a new game featured each time. Yeah. Is that supposed to be them talking about other games?
Girl, we never saw this one. This never
Okay,
popped up.
so
This is
I
one of those
guess,
things that
yeah.
never appeared.
Whatever,
So I don't know what it was
Okay.
supposed to
CIG,
be.
Alright.
when you're ready for
I give
me to
up.
come in and talk about games, I guess I'll help you out.
This one caught
I'll help
busted
you
his
out.
eye. She might be wanting to help you guys out. All right,
No, I
sorry.
just don't. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Just
And hey, listen, and neither did we, if you know what I mean. We didn't get it either.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I didn't mean to like get caught up, but I was
No,
just
that's
like,
okay.
what does that even mean?
That's okay. All right, 20 million, big landmark here. This is in September of 2013. First-person combat on select lawless planets. Don't just battle on space stations and platforms. Take the fight to the ground. Now,
You already have that.
Now, this is interesting because there were a lot of people, when they started introducing ground vehicles into the game, there were people who said, why are they introducing stuff on planet surfaces? This is a space game. There were a lot of people who said that. But
Ugh.
this is back
Why
in
not,
2013. This is back in 2013.
What's
They
the
said
point
there
of
was going to
being
be
in
ground
space
combat.
if you can't like discover strange new worlds and new
Listen, I hear you.
civilizations?
I hear you. But people were just wondering, why are you guys
Star
all of
Trek
a
would
sudden
never
building
be
tanks?
interesting if it completely took place in space.
Well, when they started building tanks and the rovers, that's when people started kind of freaking out. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, now we're going to be doing now it's going to be Call of Duty.
I
You know,
can't
that's what
just
they're
I
saying.
can't just fly spaceships through the
Exactly.
void that is space. I'm sorry, but for a second there, let's just talk about the fact that space is like mostly just a void. Okay, like, and we know Chris Roberts is super realistic.
Yep.
Do you really think like you were gonna have a fun game
Yep.
just strictly in space all the time?
Nope,
Because
good
Chris
point.
Roberts would make it terrifying.
Oh, but they're asking Chad, what month and year did you back?
March of 2016.
2016.
Okay. All right.
So 3 years
Mm-hmm.
after this.
21 million. Salvage mechanic comes into the game. I'm going to scroll past that. 22 million. Facial capture system. Some of you guys will remember that.
We got that.
in 2013. And when
But
we were,
what about my special camera?
well, when we
from
were
that
at,
one brand?
well, no, what this was when we were at, was it
No, that's for
2016?
the actors.
Was it 2016 or 2018? Do you remember fastcart when they did that?
2018.
At 2018 in CitizenCon, they actually had the facial capture stuff set up, and some of the people
Oh,
who were
the
in
one
the
in
community,
Austin.
Meyer
Yeah.
was one of them. They went and did the whole facial capture on some of the community people that they're going to include in the game. So they do have that technology.
Oh, no, you're talking about something else. I thought you were talking about Fort. Yeah, that was probably 2016
It was
then, or
2016
maybe
when they
earlier.
did that. 22 million. That was the 22 million. 23 million. The Xi'an Scout was unlocked.
Got that.
Okay. 24 million. Public transportation system. Need to get from one place
Got
to
that.
another. So you guys know that we do have that and don't have a starship. No, we don't have this. We do not have this. This is
do?
different. This is actually when you start being able to get on charters.
Oh, okay.
So it says need to get from one place to another without a starship. We're building a galactic transportation system that you can travel via transport from system to system in Star Citizen and even
Yeah, I'm
ship
thinking about
items.
the on planet.
And they're saying you can even ship items and move items from hangar to hangar. So if you've got a base
No, we
or a
don't
hangar
have
in one
that.
place, you can move stuff back and forth that way. With this stretch goal, we'll expand this system: starliners, long-range transports, charter ships, and flyable shuttles. Okay.
Woo.
25 million. Enhanced alpha. We will use additional funding to build a wider alpha test than we originally intended for the first phase of the launch. The initial plan is for the first launch. Okay, so in other words, this is going into the PTU, is what it sounds like that they're looking to build into. Okay. 26 million. This is in November of 2013. So we're a year later after the closing of the Kickstarter. Enhanced capital ship systems. We're going to expand capital ship functions, lead a damage control team to fight fires, repair key systems during battles, control internal bulkheads to slow borders, man number of consoles, like navigation and engineering that will make commanding a capital ship even more immersive. $27 million. This is fastcart's favorite one.
Yay!
The Banu Merchantman gets introduced into the game. $28 million. The new starter ship, Consolidated Outland,
that.
comes out at that point. 29 million. Enhanced missions designed for Squadron 42. I'm not going to keep reading all that. $30 million. The Origin 890 jump is introduced.
No, here you go, Griffin.
$31 million. The Orion is introduced into the game. $32 million.
We don't have that.
No, we don't. Now, here's one. The Aegis Surveyor. From
never
noted
heard of
military
that.
contractor Aegis. It's an industrial quality salvage ship equipped with. Now I'm wondering if did this become the Reclaimer?
Vulture? Oh, okay.
The Reclaimer, because that's Aegis. It says it's industrial quality salvage ship equipped with a reinforced cargo bay, long range jump drive, launch pods, unmanned drones. The Surveyor is an ideal
Oh
ship
yeah,
for
that's
taking
got to
the
be
advantage.
yeah.
Tractor beams, floodlights, scanner options, and docking ports surrounded. Yep. So that sounds like that was probably became the Reclaimer. 33 million for you Carrick lovers. The Carrick came out. What was announced, I should say. $34 million.
That's still in November.
30 no yeah that was November, you're right. $34 million. The Misk Hull C comes out. We won't read all
Don't
that.
have this one.
$35 million. The Drake Herald comes out. $36 million. The Tamsa system. They introduced a new system. Oh, this is the one that's near Banu space.
Oh, this is Banu.
Mm-hmm. $37 million. The Tanga system. Okay, so they're just doing systems here. Kano system at 38. 39.
We don't have any systems. So.
Now I don't. This one I'm not familiar with. I don't remember reading this one before. The UDS 294301-22 system. Don't ask me why they named it that. Breaking news: UEE astrophysics based at the famed Claves Observatory Station have utilized advanced telescopy and other remote sensing technologies to identify a truly unusual star system on the fringes of known space. The object, once thought to be a single massive star, is actually a trinary star, consisting of two white dwarfs and an active pulsar orbiting one another. Because of the complex gravity factors at work, it is now believed that a jump point leading to the system likely exists on or near explored human space. Beyond the bizarre stellar makeup, the composition of the system is all but unknown. Could planets exist in this carefully balanced web? Blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Could I ask someone in chat to check the ARC star map to see if this is in the star map for me? Because
Yeah.
I can't do that thing on my
that place
computer.
sounds super metal.
Yeah, UDS 2943-01-22. There you go.
I'll copy and paste it in chat.
40 million point Cabal system and the Ortani system are added. 41 procedural generation R&D team is put together. $42 million. They updated the Observer's Guide. Additional funding from the $42 million will be expanded the website for the Galactopedia and holographic ships. Okay. The Explorer class, Moby Glass rig. We know what the Moby Glass is. The Gladius, and then a towel. Of course, everyone who backs before Squadron hit 42 will receive a towel for their hangar.
I think that was probably a meme back then. I think that was probably a meme.
Yeah, it's probably a meme. What's the date on that?
A meme?
Again?
No,
Okay.
there's a towel.
That's January 2014.
I have a towel rack.
Yeah, this towel Rex. Yeah.
That's how every intergalactic hitchhiker works there has a towel.
Okay. Here's one. $43 billion. This is in April of 2014, guys. The Omni Roll combat armor, Orc. The MK9 armor. That's what this is here that they're identifying.
So not only do we have the Rock, we have the Orc.
The Orc, yes. The Rock is Orc. All right. 44 million. Now, there are people, I know Colossal, you're out there. I know this is one that you would like. Stellar Cartography. Walk among the distant horizons you've charted in Star Citizen's dedicated map room. We see that in the Carrick. Featuring a 3D holographic representation of the known verse. Your map room will start with the basic guide to the UEE and will expand into something that is unique to you as you explore uncharted worlds and discover new secrets. Build the most in-depth universe, blah, 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 and the ability to leave your own notes about your encounters and travels. It's more than a map. It's your digital diary. There you go.
Ooh,
all right.
Real quick.
Today,
about the
smiled at me. It was
about the UDS system. So someone looked and Platinum Fox said it's not in the ARC map. So it's not the star map yet. So I don't know. Maybe they changed the name.
That could be.
Or maybe it's something else. Or
maybe we'll have to scan the map and see if there's a trinary system that's on the edge, and maybe that, like you said, maybe that's what it would be. And then again, maybe it's something for us to discover, and maybe that's why it's not on the map.
Or maybe it's something for Squad 42.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Hadesian artifact. I think these artifacts and things they started putting in the game. Updated scanning software. Chimera Corporation unveiled its latest version of the S-Bit scanning software. It also announcing a one-time free upgrade to those current log-standing customers. The new S-Bit upgrade offers advanced scanning capabilities for prospecting asteroids. above and beyond their baseline system. The S-bit is an FIB-based system that floods the scan zone with energy, blah, 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 blah. The general public will be able to purchase this update when it's officially released. All right, $47 million. Engine tuning kit. Wilson Feldman Max Tune Kit has become one of the best-selling starter kits for discerning home enthusiasts. Without this white needs, let me see what this is here. Kit comes with everything a fledgling engineer needs to take a deeper look into the mechanics of their engine. With the tap analyzer, you will be able to view your engine's current output and energy numbers. So this is going to be somebody who's into the whole engineering mechanic, being able to.
That's me. I think that'll be tied with the Endeavor and the Super Collider and stuff like that, and tuning different components.
Gotcha. $48 million. The Retaliator commercial. Okay, it's just them producing a commercial. Okay, $49 million. The Xi'an's space plant. We got those plants, guys. Alien languages at $50 million.
Got that.
$51 million. Web-based known universe map. We got that. $52 million. The BB-12. I remember this thing. That's that big monster spider-looking thing, right? It's a brand new maneuvering unit. Yeah, from Azure. Yeah, whether you're engaging in precision mining operations or delicate salvage retrieval, the BB-12 is capable of EVA operation for 6 uninterrupted hours. The new model features 24 precision nozzles, thrusters, and 2 redesigned heavy-duty tanks of gaseous nitrogen propellant, capable to be hot swapped while on the drift or refueled on the ship. With the BB-12, once again, is submitted in place in Premiere. Blah blah blah. Okay, $53 million. Independent Arbitrators Guild. Did you guys know about this one? I do not remember this one. Have you ever been wronged by your superiors? Has your member of your organization entrusted with watching the funds been watching them go into their own pocket? Well, think you don't have any recourse? You're wrong. Fully licensed and bonded to work with UEE and beyond, the Independent Arbiters Guild allows citizens and civilians, we don't discriminate, to file complaints against or within private organizations. Petition cases with our AIG representative to have your voice heard and restitutions made. Is your business less
I don't know
than
how
legitimate?
I feel about this.
IEG is the only here to judge the matters you want. Now, this is interesting because what this actually could be, and I know that we've talked about, some people have talked about how will reputations be set in the game so that people just can't put a bad reputation on you, right? Is there going to be some way to judge when people have done something wrong in the game that qualifies you to be put into that category? I don't know, but I don't know what this is. If this is something done in-game or with the players or what. $54 million. More detailed AI activities. Some of you all will remember this because Chris referenced this in his letter recently too. At $54 million, this includes bartenders, doctors, entertainers, nurses, sanitation workers, security guards, shoppers, tourists, vagrants, and vandals. So these are all the other AI, not just the people you see walking around now, but people who are walking around with a purpose. $55 million ballistic Gatling gun. $56 million J-Span, the Cryostar. Excuse me. What is that? Oh, that's the cooling system, the coolers. $57 million. The Endeavor hits the mark. The Endeavor hits the $57 million. And that was in October of 2014. Let's see.
That's my backup month.
Okay. $58 million. Everybody got 10,000 UEC, basically. $59 million, the Crucible comes out. $60 million, the Aegis Vanguard class comes out. $61 million, the Asperia Prowler comes out. And this is amazing. This is in 2014. We got the Prowler this year, right? Was it this year?
Yes.
So, okay, so it's 6 years. $62 million, Genesis Starliner. That's one of the ones that I'm looking for. Yeah, that in the band.
Coming.
$63 million, the Reliant comes out. We've got that. $64 million, Pets. Do you want a pet, Buster? Are you looking?
I already have a dog that is annoying enough, and I love her. So, I mean, I don't know if they could put if CIG call me when you want to motion cat my little asshole dog. She's perfect. She's a little space dog.
No. What could happen instead of a Pico doll, we have actually a Pico penguin following us around.
Yeah, Pico penguin. All right, what it does say here says, and I know that Younique will appreciate this first opening line. We have repair bots. We have fish. We have fish, but we haven't implemented a traditional pet system in Star Citizen. At $64 million, that changes. From Jones the cat in Alien to Battlestar Galactica's Daggett, pets have been a place on board these ships. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, guys, they're saying that we are going to think about a pet, okay? And finally, we're hitting at
Fish
the very...
are pets.
Yeah, we're finally hitting the end here at $65 million. Enhanced ship modularity. Now, this one here, I do want to read, because this one is crucial to a lot of people who have different types of ships. So you have the ship of your dreams, but really wish that it could be customized to suit your needs. Needs a bit more than off-the-shelf models. This new goal, a massive undertaking, is going to be of interest. We are looking to overhaul any suitable ships, including the Cutlass, Avenger, Retaliator, and Redeemer, to allow many modular components to be available as swap-outs to refit the ships, internal and external, to suit your gameplay requirements. If you wanted to make it a bounty hunter ship, you could buy a stasis chamber module for the lower deck that you would be able to capture and store fugitives to be delivered for their bounties at your leisure. You can configure an upper deck to be outfitted with a long-range communication suite, allowing you to keep in touch with your info agent even when you're in deep space. Fed up with bounty hunting, you could swap in a larger cargo module in the lower deck to make it more profitable run if you're planning on being out for a while, or you can add an explorer module with a deployable vehicle for some planet-side recon. Manufacturers will still be offering pre-configured variants, but should you be looking to adapt a hull to suit certain tasks, your ship has come in and now is ready for modification. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because some of you all know there were some ships that they talked about in here. I mentioned it earlier. The Avenger, originally when it came out, they said that you'd be able to swap out things. Those jail cells that were in there were supposedly being swapped out. But then what they ended up doing was just coming up with the 3 Avenger variants, where you've got the Warlock, the Titan, and what's the other one called? I forget what the other one's called.
Stalker.
The Stalker, right? But they're not swappable, and obviously they're not swappable. Now, whether CIG is going to make them swappable at some point, we don't know. But there are other ships, and we're talking about beyond just components, guys. We're not just talking about weapons and coolers and things. One of the ships that I bought that I didn't know at the time that I bought had this was the Retaliator, because the Retaliator actually has 5 other modules that go into that ship, and they were only sold, I think, one time, maybe twice, but they're hard to find. Every once in a while somebody will sell them because they're frustrated because they haven't come out with them yet. But there's right now when you buy it, you get the bomber version of it, which has a front and back bomber area, but it also has a dropship module. It has a front living area module. It has a cargo module, and then it has I think it's 2 cargo modules, something like that. But there's like 4 or 5 modules that go to the Retaliator. So it's supposed to be a ship that has a lot of flexibility. They've talked about the Caterpillar also being another ship that you can swap out some of those modules and maybe put a repair deck or put something else in there and not just carry cargo. What are you going to say, Fastcart?
I think the flagship of the modularity system is going to be the Endeavor, because that's like, it's a big ship, and you can swap, like, it had the master kit that had like 6 different or 8 different modules in it, but you have like the Trooper Collider, you have the astronomy one, and you have the medical one, you have the farming one, and you have the medical one, and you have the hangar one, and a couple of others that I don't remember. But I think that'll be like the big, show off for modularity.
That is the granddaddy of modularity. But I don't know, when I see modularity, was that Asipita? Thank you for the follow, and Wingtip, if I missed you earlier, thank you for the follow. My only concern, the only reason why I differentiate that particular ship, though, Fastcart, is the Endeavor. Those modules physically change the dynamics of the ship. You know what I mean? Not just in purpose, but they physically change it. Where there are some ships that they've said that when you change modules, in other words, the Retaliator is still going to look the same externally, but inside it changes. Yes. One of the ships that there was a big controversy on, if you guys remember a few backs, was the Vanguard, because people had bought the Vanguard. I forget what they called those packages. Do you remember, Younique? Remember they had these like modular things that you were supposed to be able to like literally change the internals of the ships.
Right.
Does anybody, the Buck? Thank you, guys. See, look at that. Look at chat. Chat is on point.
Yeah, chat is on it.
Chat is on it. Yeah.
Thank you, chat.
And so that was another one of those type of examples of where if you wanted to make your Vanguard be a different type of mission ship, you'd swap it out. It still externally looked the same, but the internals in that middle section would be changed out. But I agree with you that the Endeavor is definitely the master class of modularity and being able to, customize a ship the way you want it. Buster, let me ask you a question, and because we're getting near our time here. There's a lot of stuff lined here. A lot of stuff we saw, we said yes to, right? We've seen it in the game. Some stuff that goes all the way back to 2012, hasn't popped into the game yet. Is CIG, and I think we opened up with this thing about CIG being true to their word, or at the very least being transparent about their word if things change. Do you think that there's more than enough in the game now that if they kind of go with what we've seen here, plus maybe some stuff that they've got on the drawing board, there's enough? Or do you think that, as things continue to pop up, that they should continue to just add to the game if they think it will enhance it? I know it's a hard question.
I think, and I imagine they have something like this set.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be like a hard list of what they absolutely must achieve and things that would be nice to achieve if they can before release. And the thing is like, I think they have to. There's times where it's like with a like when I usually do like a proper like scenic piece or something back, especially when I was in theater, is you have to know when to walk away from the piece because it's enough. You have to know when it's enough, and that's the hardest part sometimes because you think of like, oh, I made this marble wall, for this show. I made this marble like living room, or it looks marble, right? It looks like the walls are marble, but man, I could really go back and like do some little details. But wait, people are sitting 30 feet away from this. These little tiny lines I'm putting in it to make it look more realistic aren't going to matter to the eye of somebody 30 feet away.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of that kind of idea of, you have to know, okay, where do the people care and where do the people just not care? Because a lot of the time the people don't care.
Yeah.
The devil's in the details. And I think that one of the greatest, but I would say that I would also argue on the other end of that is like one of the greatest things about Star Citizen and in general, Chris Roberts, is the amount of attention to detail.
Okay.
And I think like I've had people that are new to the game come in and play and they're like, oh my God, like I can push this button and it does this thing, or I can like, it's so detailed, like it's so immersive. And so I don't know. I think there has to be places where it's like, okay, we can't add that. Like we have to stop here. But at the same time, like we were kind of talked about at the beginning, like sometimes talent brings in new perspective and new thought that it's like sometimes adding a feature, right, is not as hard because the people that have it, that are thinking it through, they really knew how to add it into the game correctly without it slowing everybody else down. And so I don't know. It's like a hard question to answer because obviously want to see it released and want to see it be successful in its release. But I would hope that there is a line, internally within CIG, there is some kind of line where it's like, okay, we want to do this thing. This would be really cool, but this is going to cost us, and this is going to cost us like a whole year of development time, or this is going to be a whole team developing this for like a year.
Yeah.
It is also knowing your people and knowing which teams like and how they work. Like I hear the caves, for example, those were implemented so quickly because apparently like some guys in the German office just hammered those out, and they did an excellent job at that. And now they've had time to go back and even make them better.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just knowing where to put your people and where the priorities need to lie. And that's a question for both Chris Roberts, but also the community. And Chris Roberts' answer matters generally more than the community's because it is his dream game, not yours.
Ooh.
You just happen to be backing it.
Ooh, that's some tough words, girl. Tough words, but true. But true. There's a couple questions we've got here. Miles asks, yeah, they have things planned that they don't tell us, but do you think that at this point, or that some feature creep is or has become intentional to create a managed anticipation and demand regardless? And I'm sorry, the question went so long it went right off the spreadsheet. I'm sorry, I can't read all of it. Let's see if I can move it over some. It's not letting me. Is it? Oh, yes, it is. Oh my God. Why didn't that go into 2 lines? It was like one long line.
Weedle.
To manage anticipation and demand regardless of the money being taken in. I guess that's what the question is. Younique, I'm going to throw that at you. Yeah, there is planning, but do you think that some of the feature creep is intentional to just kind of keep people anticipating?
No, I don't think it's intentional. I mean, just trying to get the game to a point where it's truly playable as a game, and i.e., they don't have to reset the universe. That's the line. And so anything that's implemented in the game is like real life. There's has to be two sides to every coin. So you can't have piracy if you don't have, the UEE or some sort of police forcing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have the Vandul attacking things if you don't have something that can fight them back in order to get that give and take balance of taking over space and losing space areas and stuff like that. So you've got to get enough of the two sides of the coin to make something worthwhile. Mining, you got to be able to sell it somewhere, right? So anything that they introduce, they have to have the equilibrium. So it's always two things that they've got to do. But once they get enough of that, so that enough of I think they can take some of the professions that people are doing, and they can do them later. Not have to flush them all the way out fully.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they did introduce this level of, or the concept of levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. When they can get everything at a level 1, even if some things are at a level 2 and level 3, if everything's at least level 1, then they can classify that as a minimal viable product and put it out.
Makes sense. Okay. Fastcart, I'm going to throw this one at you. This is from Black Intellect. What are you guys' thoughts on the recent Reddit post that revealed that there are about 750,000 individual backers out of the 2.2 million Spectrum accounts? Is this good, bad, or a surprise?
I'm not surprised. I figured it'd be around that much. Like when we hit a million account, that was Eden Star. It was back in 2016. That was a big milestone, and a lot of us were speculating out of all of those accounts, how many of those are actual backers, and we guessed like maybe half, or maybe like 2/3, or maybe 2/5 or something like that, maybe 40%. So I think 750K out of 2.2 or whatever we're at now is pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. And I would say this too: to have 1 million people backing a game, I know people hate this term, but to have 1 million people who are backing a game that's in alpha is actually good. I mean, you got 1 million people, and out of that percentage, the question becomes how many people are active players. Who did that documentary on CitizenCon last year? The one that was out of the BBC. Do you guys remember? I can't name the name of the
BBC
clip. Yeah, the show. And they went around and asked people. They went around and asked people, how much money have you spent on the game? And they've talked about how most of the people who back Star Citizen have paid less than $200 or something like that.
No,
yeah,
45. Most of them were like $45 or $60.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of money. So I mean, I think that a lot of times the thing that's sold is that everybody's in Star Citizen has spent that, quote unquote, thousands and thousands of dollars. When that is not the case, there are people who have spent that type of money. But the average backer has spent, there was a number that they quoted less than, it wasn't click, but somebody said less than this much money was the average number that it came out
I don't think whatever number they came up with is officially announced by CIG. I think that's just a number that they guessed at.
Yeah, I think they're probably just looking at a number then breaking down to an average, right? But to the point, we definitely know that all the people who are on Spectrum who have signed up, and I think we even opened the show up talking about the fact that that's not people who are necessarily active. They're just people who went to the website, signed up for it, maybe for no other reason than to lock their name in, and that was the only reason why they did it.
Or maybe for a free fly.
A free fly, yeah, something like that. But they may not be backing the game at all. Let me throw this. I'll answer this one. What do you think about the $100 million reward for the war bond hanging flare that you get? Some of you guys know that they gave us this weird plaque. I think that's what they're referring to. And that what I didn't know is that you're supposed to be able to sell it. I did not know. So thanks for telling us that. I'll have to go back and look at that one. But there's a lot of the hanger flare that they've given us. Actually, I kind of miss my hanger because I actually got into Buster. I hate to admit this. I told you about how I like clothes and stuff. I used to decorate my hanger out too. I love tricking my
did
hanger
too.
out, and I hate that hangers have been
I,
borked and you can't do anything in them right now. And I've
Yeah.
always
you can't spawn a ship, and they're like every time. I wish hangers were persistent, like the PU had the baby PU had become persistent.
yeah. Well, they used to be.
They
I mean,
used to
they
be.
used to be. I don't understand what happened. All of a sudden, they went like completely. The first warning was when you were spawn your ship and it spawned in damaged, right? And it was sparking all over the place. Now you can't put anything down anymore. And I'm like, okay. But I always look forward to the time when you could invite your friends to your hangar. You know, that's something that I wish they would put into.
Yeah, that's something they promised they hadn't. Yeah, exactly. They hadn't put in yet.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me ask. We're going to ask the final question here. After going through all of this stuff. Is there feature creep in Star Citizen? I don't think I ever gave my answer to that. My answer to that is that that we get the appearance of feature creep, and what I mean by that is we all know that Chris Roberts from history and from people's testimonials about him is a visionary in the sense of all these cool things he has in his head. But I also think that over the years, all the way back from Wing Commander days to now, and with maturity, that there is a dynamic of growth that's happened with him. I also look at the people who he's surrounded himself with, people like Brian Chambers, people like who's the other guy I'm thinking about? Will Levitt. Yeah, I mean all these different people. His brother, he has a whole camp of people.
Aaron Roberts.
Yeah, he's got a camp of people that he respects and listens to. This isn't like the Chris Roberts show, even though there are plenty of people who would like to make us think that. I think that there are plenty of ears around him that he listens to. And the only difference between this game and Privateer or any of the past games is that Chris was not obligated or accountable to the gaming community. This time he is. And that's a heavy weight to bear. So I think that as long as we continue to give our voices and speak up about things, that holds them into a place of accountability. Because, not to be funny, but imagine, and I have to say this, imagine if Star Citizen did not happen. Imagine the impact.
Or imagine if it failed somehow.
If it failed, right? If it doesn't deliver. I'm not even talking about delivering a bad game. I'm just saying if it didn't deliver, that would be horrible within the gaming industry. And it's not just the gaming industry. Look at who some of the people are that Chris has working with him. He has people working out of Hollywood. He has partnerships with Intel, partnerships with Amazon. There are a whole lot of people whose reputations are also partnered into this project. And so I think from our perspective, sometimes things seem like feature creep, but Buster, you hit it on the head earlier. When something doesn't show up, we bark about it. When something does show up, I'm talking about stuff that's not on the roadmap, right? Not on the roadmap, but they throw it in the game and we're like, oh, wow, that is so cool. It's like we forget. And I think that we've got to give them that leverage that they have mapped out things for a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year run, and they know what they're doing. We just got to be willing to kind of deal with that clock. And I know that clock isn't always comfortable for us as backers. You going to say fast card?
I think another difference. You said that he's beholden to the community. I think that's always been the case for previous games. It just is more so for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. But I think another major difference is he doesn't have a publisher to answer to. Or let's consider the community a publisher, sort of say. But there's no EA, no Ubisoft, and nothing like that overhead.
But I would argue the point with you on that the community is that now. That's my point.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's my point. My point is he is accountable, but I think the community accountability is greater than even the EA or the Microsoft accountability. I mean, in all seriousness, because what I'm saying is that when he was building the games before, he was building the game he wanted to build, right? But you're right, he was under the legal aspects of dealing with corporate, the publishers and all the other stuff. I'm just saying, he has put a lot more at risk to me with the community than he did with the corporate folks. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I think that the backlash, when he walked away with Microsoft and stuff, there was some backlash, but this backlash would be totally different than that Microsoft backlash. Yeah. It would really be a whole different thing, All right. So we're going to wrap it up because we have had a great conversation tonight, but I want to get some last words from everybody. Younique, you got anything you want to toss out there before we go?
I would just toss out the idea that the bar for Chris Roberts is the person standing in the mirror. He knows this is probably his last hurrah. I mean, he's not 16 anymore. If you blow this one, how do you come back from it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the community, it's
Yeah.
himself. Like,
Himself.
oh my God, I have to put this out. It has to be good. He has to balance that. And he's talking to himself.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting feedback from people, but ultimately at the end of the day, he's talking to himself.
That's a good point. Good point. Buster, any final words? Oh, and in your final words, please tell people where they can find you too.
Oh yeah. Well, final words. You know, feature creep does exist in Star Citizen, but like Younique so aptly pointed out earlier, is there is good feature creep and there is bad feature creep, and I totally agree with him on a lot of his points, and really all of you. But at the end of the day, you know, if you don't like Star Citizen, then stop playing it and don't put any more money into it. And, you know, use your dollar sometimes to vote with CIG. If CIG is acting up in ways that you're not caring for, then stop giving them your money. Because if they start to lose money once in a while, they'll feel it, and they'll, you know, the dollar does. We live in a capitalistic world, so sometimes you have to use that to your advantage, even when you're lower on the rung of capitalism, right? And then for me, as far as where to find me, I'm on here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Buster the Destroyer. Weedle, please stop eating my makeup. That is not animal tested. You can't have any. Sorry, I just saw her over there doing that while I was talking. But again, twitch.tv/Buster Destroyer. I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and then occasionally, like outside of those days, for special events and things like that. This Friday, this coming Friday, I am in the War of the Worlds broadcast that you guys are doing, and I am also. But earlier that day, I am also doing something special on my channel called Benefica: The Hex of Hades, which is actually like. We're doing a new character in the Buster cinematic universe.
Oh, cool!
And she's kind of lured out. And when I said earlier, like Elvira and Morticia and those three, and Vampira kind of being three major, like femme fatale type Halloweeny ladies. Expect something. That's kind of where you should be thinking when you tune in that day for Benefica. She's
cool.
She's going to be very interesting, very fun for you guys. So, and attached to the Hades system, so you can look up on your own more about the Hades system and Star Citizen, and that can give you a good idea of what's coming.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so Friday's special day. But yeah, and then other than that, I mean, I'm on the captain's table occasionally, and the yacht club, and of course now this is my first time on this show.
Yay.
So thank you guys. I want to say thank you very much for having me. I've really
and you'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back anytime. Anytime. Cool. Just tell me ahead of time so I can plan for it.
All right, fastcart. What about you? Anything?
I remember 90 minutes ago, I made a bad joke and I forgot the point I was going to make. I wrote it down this time, so I won't forget. Okay. But I think we basically covered this. But the more money that came in, the more projects they were able to do. If you want to call that feature creep, okay. But I mean, they just try to scale the project towards the amount of what they could afford. So that's my final thought. And you can find me on twitter.com/fast_cart. I'm on Miss Hart's 80s show on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm on Shiver's show on Wednesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Except this week, I'll be on the War of the Worlds with
Very cool. This Friday, we're going to announce this week, guys. We are doing a reenactment of Orson Welles' broadcast from 1938 of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds. Some of you all will remember the story about how Orson Welles did this radio broadcast, and many people around the country freaked out because they thought it was a real event. And so we are going to actually simulate or recreate that radio broadcast. And Buster is one of our cool, talented people that's going to be lending her skills, along with a whole lot of other people. Captain Richard, Uber Nerd, STEM Citizen, I don't want to forget anybody's name, Eris. There's a ton of folks that are going to be on as the cast for that. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. It'll be our first time doing something like this. So, yeah, that'll be on October 30th. It'll be on Friday night at 8 p.m., which is actually the 82nd anniversary of that broadcast. So we're going to look forward to it. Eastern time. Yes, Eastern time. So just let you guys know that's going to be this Friday, and we'll get some stuff out for it so you guys can come out and check us out and have fun. And we're doing it for charity, by the way. We're doing it to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So that's the other reason why we want you guys to stop through and hang out with us. It's only an hour long. We're not doing the movie version with Tom Cruise for 2.5 hours. 1 hour radio broadcast on Friday. Okay. Other than that, Skyra, too, thank you very much for the follow. We truly, truly appreciate that. And Asipita, did I say that earlier? Thank you for the follow if I missed you. And that's about it. Follow us on our social media if you have time. Buster, thank you again so much. Younique, thank you for hanging in there. I know you are beat, so go to bed. fastcart, as always, we'll confer later. And we are going to set up a raid for G-Man. And you guys make sure you give G-Man a shout. He's only got a few people over there. Just send him some love for a few minutes, even if you can't stay, and let him know that you came over from Soul Citizens. And we will see you guys real soon. As always, love, peace, and soul. We'll see you guys later. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Be safe.